I believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate, and I think the evolution theory that's being taught in our schools is one of the dumbest and most dangerous religions on planet Earth. Okay.
The Earth is over 4.5 billion years old.
If the universe is billions of years old, why are there less than 300 supernova rings ever discovered? That's only a few thousand years worth. I mean, if a star is blowing up every 30 years, there ought to be millions of these supernova rings if the universe were millions of years old. Don't tell me it's millions of years old. I don't believe you. That's just not common sense.
Evolution is a process of gradual and progressive change that has resulted in the development of more complex and diverse life on Earth. So in biology, when we're talking about evolution, we're talking about how over time life has gone from simple organisms to more complex and diverse, which means more types.
Students are taught that life evolved from non-living materials, like this one. Many important events occurred during the Archean era, the most important of which was the evolution of life. Progress from complex molecules to even the simplest living organism was a very long process. Yes, boys and girls, you see, long ago and far away. They hide it in antiquity. Well, if you just imagine, you go back far enough, it happened. Oh, yeah, it must have. This one says, between 4 and 3.8 billion years ago, living cells emerged. There's no record of the event. That's stupid, okay?
So when you think about the fact that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, that gives you an understanding of how much time there has been for evolution to take place.
This textbook says the history of life on Earth began approximately 3.5 billion years ago. How this occurred has been and will continue to be a topic for inquiry. Let me give you the Hovind translation. It's okay to inquire how life evolved. It is not okay to inquire whether it evolved. That's stupid. Is this education or indoctrination? Hey kids, we know life evolved, now you got to try to figure out how it happened. How about if we even question, did it evolve? Oh no, you can't question that. You cannot question that. We know it evolved, now just figure out how it happened. That's not education. That's indoctrination.
We need to realize that time is the critical factor here. And time is going to be a key factor that you need to consider when we're considering evolution.
Evolutionists assume that if you give enough time, things get better. That's silly, okay? You give things time, they get worse. Here's Sue at 20. Here she is at 90. Okay? They don't get better. Some of these planets are cooling off. They're constantly losing their heat, okay? And the textbooks is telling us they're millions of years old, billions of years old. You can't just keep cooling off and cooling off. Pretty soon it's cooled off. I mean, if you walked into a room and found a cup of coffee sitting on the table and I said, don't touch the coffee, that's hot. And you said, well, whose is it? I said, I don't know, it's been sitting there for 400 years. That's stupid, okay?
Every year, the moon's orbit gets a little bigger and our favorite satellite moves just a little farther away.
The moon is going farther away from the Earth every year. We're slowly losing the moon.
The moon's orbit is currently growing about 3.8 centimeters per year.
Now this is going to be complicated, so listen carefully. As the moon goes around the Earth, it's gradually getting farther away. It's spiraling out about 3 inches a year. So that means that it used to be closer. Well, if you bring the moon in closer, you start to create a problem, you see, because the moon causes the tides.
Back then, models suggest it was as close as 22,500 kilometers from Earth, which would have made it look 17 times bigger in the sky than it does now.
Well, if you brought the moon in closer, you'd create a serious problem because there's a law called the inverse square law. If you bring the moon into 1/3 the distance, you take the 1/3, inverse it, square it, it's 9 times the gravitational pull. If you run all the math on this, you'll find 1.2 billion years ago, the moon was whizzing around just above the surface of the Earth. That explains what happened to the tall dinosaurs. They got moon. So, to teach us the moon is billions of years old while it's constantly moving away, and nobody knows of any factors that would reverse that situation.
That rate has varied a lot since the moon's formation about 4.5 billion years ago.
That's just stupid, okay? It can't be true.
The reason it's moving away also explains why it will never leave us. A principle known as the conservation of angular momentum.
A spinning object that breaks apart will send all the fragments off spinning in the same direction.
In physics, angular momentum describes something's tendency to stay rotating once it's started.
This little tiny dot was spinning. It spun faster and faster. Yes, boys and girls, and one day it exploded. Big bang.
You know how a spinning figure skater slows down when they extend their arms? That's conservation of angular momentum.
Conservation of angular momentum says spinning objects break apart and the fragments spin the same direction. So when they tell you that it all came from a spinning dot, it's silly. It violates common sense laws. 2 planets, Venus and Uranus, are spinning backwards. 8 of the 91 known moons are spinning backwards. 3 planets have moons going both directions at the same time. Some whole galaxies are spinning backwards. CNN, goofy galaxy spins wrong direction.
Now, if we go back to the Earth 4.5 billion years ago, it was a very different place.
Jupiter has a moon called Ganymede, which has a very strong magnetic field. Scientists are kind of perplexed by this because the magnetic field indicates a hot molten core, and yet Ganymede should have cooled off billions of years ago. Why does Ganymede still have a hot molten core and a strong magnetic field? To say it's billions of years old is stupid. It's just lacking common intelligence. Saturn has rings around it, but the rings are constantly expanding. They're moving away from the planet. To say they're billions of years old is stupid. They can't be billions of years old. They would have been dissipated by now. They're not billions of years old. About 1.2 to 1.4 billion years is absolute maximum for the age of the Earth-Moon. If you go back in time, here's today, go back 1 billion years. Indeed, the rate the moon left us would have to be greater in the past. It would go out faster and then slow down in its recession rate. 1.4 billion is absolute max when the moon would make contact with the Earth. Way before that, you're going to have several problems because the moon causes the tide. The closer it is, the higher the tides are going to be. It's going to pull the tides way up and drown everything on Earth twice a day. Now, those who want us to believe the Earth is billions of years old have got to have a logical, coherent answer.
We're here to answer all of your burning science questions.
And you need to contact Cornell University while you're at it and say, look, the Earth is billions of years old. Okay, how could the moon have been going around the Earth when the maximum time limit is 1.4 billion years?
We're here to answer all of your burning science questions.
They're going to tell you kids in school that the Earth is 4.6 billion years old. Well, then where did the moon come from?
We're here to answer all of your burning science questions.
The Big Bang Theory is stupid, okay? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So when they tell you it spun faster and faster and one day it exploded, that's simply stupid, okay? That's not the way it happened.
They're clearly going after truth channels, independent media, and alternative journalists. Here's where I need your help. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, and follow me on Facebook. In addition to that, please donate to the channel either by PayPal or Patreon. PayPal for a one-time donation and Patreon for an ongoing donation. I ask this because this is how it has to be done. They're trying to rub us out. They demonetize all the videos to take away our ad revenue to remove our incentive. So you, as a subscriber, can help mitigate that damage and sidestep what they're trying to do. Your contribution will not only be greatly appreciated, but it will also enable me to keep these videos coming, no matter where I end up having to put them. The information war is on, guys, and they are trying to keep us in the dark.
Not only do the same covenant break, but have pleasure without natural affection.